Hi, my name is Cloud, and I'm glad you're here. A short while ago, my life changed in a way I never saw coming. I was diagnosed with lung cancer. It still feels surreal to say that out loud. Not long ago, I was incredibly active, an avid runner, always moving, always planning the next goal. And then suddenly everything slowed down, and the future feels uncertain. This channel is my way of making sense of that shift, a place to chronicle the ups and downs and challenges of lung cancer. The fear, the hope, the setbacks, the small wins. If you or a loved one is going through a similar challenge, my hope is that something here resonates with you. Hey, you don't have to be alone. Finally, I truly pray that someday soon I can run again. Hey, another day, another grind. Rehab and recovery. Let's do this. Let's get after this tonight. What if the hardest part of cancer isn't the surgery, or the chemotherapy, or even the medication, but the waiting? I'm sure you know cancer doesn't arrive politely. It doesn't ask whether you're fit, or disciplined, or living the right way. You know, it certainly did not for me. And it shows up uninvited and demands attention. First came the surgery. Well, a lot of tests before that to begin with. Then the lobectomy. Piece of my lung was removed. Then the chemo port was installed. And then chemotherapies. And now targeted therapy. If you didn't know, I do have the ALK mutation. And I qualify for the alectinib target therapy. Never heard of that before. But cancer is a teacher, and it teaches you new things you never really were interested before, you know? Tonight, I'm not really here to talk about the procedures. I just want to talk about the space between them. The space filled with scans, blood works, lab results, and the quiet, relentless anxiety that lives there. Because I think that's where fear does its best work. The uncertainty. Scan anxiety, or a lot of people would say scanxiety, it's not just nervousness. It's a full body experience, something that I know firsthand. It starts days before the test. Your sleep changes, your patience shortens, your thoughts loop. You replay in your head past conversations multiple times. You imagine a future, and future ones. Prepare yourself for outcomes that you haven't thought about yet. Simple blood draws, and now I do twice a month, down from every week. And a lab value slightly out of range feels like it's a warning sign. A number trending the wrong way can hijack your entire day. Oftentimes you tell yourself to stay rational, to wait for the doctor's interpretation. But you can't help yourself. Fear is fast and logic is slow. I used to think strength meant control. Control over my training plan, control over my schedule, control over my body. Cancer has quickly dismantled that illusion. For me, there's no amount of discipline can control a scan result, and no level of fitness can negotiate with biology. That understanding can break you, or it can rebuild you. It certainly has for me. At first, fear ran the show. Really, it did, and it still does. I would sit in my car before appointments, maybe sometimes paralyzed at the thought of doing all these scans and tests. Um, Oftentimes I would lie next to my wife at night, listen to her breathe, afraid to move because the moment feels fragile, or wake her up. But to be honest with you, over the last few months, something has shifted over time for me. Yeah, not because of fear, that it has disappeared. It hasn't. But because I stopped letting it be the only voice in the room. Running and exercising and working out has taught me something long before cancer ever did. And that is, you do not eliminate discomfort. You learn to move with it. When your legs burn at mile 6, when you don't stop the race to argue with the pain. You acknowledge it, you adjust your breathing, and you keep going. I started applying that same mindset to my anxiety, to my anxiousness. Nowadays, before scans, I stop asking what if it's bad and start asking, what do I do today? Today I show up. Today I get the scan. Today I go home and eat dinner with my family. Today I take my medication. Today is not the day I receive the result. So today doesn't get to borrow tomorrow's fear. Certainly, moment by moment, day by day is what I've been saying. It sounds simple, but it's truly not. It's a skill, one that takes practice. I have learned to anchor myself in facts. I have a treatment plan. I'm on a targeted therapy designed for the ALK mutation in my genes. I'm monitored closely. Anxiety thrives in the vagueness, and it weakens under clarity. I think I have learned to respect my body differently since cancer. After the surgery and the chemotherapy, my body has felt unfamiliar and different. It's slower, it's more easily fatigued. And instead of pushing it for what it can't do, nowadays I start thanking it for what it can still do. A short walk, a 5 minute on the elliptical, to me feels like victory already. A gym session, however short, becomes an act of defiance, not against cancer, but against despair. And we talked about this previously about mental health and mental fortitude. The hero's journey isn't about never being afraid. It's about choosing meaning over paralysis. Every scan becomes a threshold. I could step into it as a victim or as an active participant in my own life, not controlling the outcome, but controlling my response. Blood tests stopped being verdicts and became data, and I tabulate them. I track how the numbers go up and down. Used to be fear wanted me to see every number as a judgment, but resilience nowadays teaches me to see them as tools. Self-discovery came in unexpected ways, really. I have learned that I could sit with uncertainty longer than I thought I could before, that I could be honest with my fears and worries without being consumed by it. I think that's a big difference than before. That vulnerability didn't make me weaker as a father or a husband or a son. It has made me more present in the lives of my family. My family does not need me to be fearless. They need me to be real. To show them that courage sometimes looks like showing up scared and, still doing it anyway. My wife doesn't need me to pretend everything is fine. She needs me engaged, open, still willing to plan a future, even if the timeline feels blurred. Lately, we've been talking about how our retirement might look like, and it's a surreal conversation sometimes. Wherever you are, however you're doing, we got this. You and me, we got this.